And let's be heard. Hello, everyone. This is Bob Grant. And this is a program dedicated to the free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions, in the belief that as American citizens, you have a right to hear and to be heard. And what is on your mind on this day, huh? I realize that many of you are listening to me for the first time. I'd like to think that I was so famous, so well known, so well established that everybody's, oh, yeah, that's Bob Grant. But I do know that some of you don't know me, but hopefully we will get acquainted. And certainly we'll begin that long march to acquaintanceship in the next 3 hours we spend together on this radio station. Now, the fact of the matter is, when I began, I said we are dedicated to the free and open exchange of ideas and of opinions. There are people, would you believe it, there are people in this country that don't want us to share our honest opinions. The stormtroopers are out there, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake, the stormtroopers are out there, the politically correct swine who really don't believe in the First Amendment. Oh, they believe in the First Amendment for themselves. They believe in the First Amendment for the politically correct brigade. But lest anyone challenge their dictums, lest anyone challenge their arrogant statements, and those people who challenge those statements are called all kinds of names. How well I know, having been called several myself. Now, I don't want you to think that I'm a hypocrite when I talk about people calling names, because I call a few myself. However, if I call someone a name, that is not supposed to freeze that person in his tracks, supposed to render that person null and void. However, there are certain words that are used, and you'll learn what they are as time goes on. When used by the politically correct crowd, they are supposed to render people like me, and perhaps people like you, null and void. Now, what we have to do is not lose our courage. What we have to do is to not be intimidated. Edmund Burke, in the 18th century, said, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. Hopefully there are many good men and women out there who will not do nothing, but will do something. I ask you this question, and maybe it's a little too early for some of you to even contemplate such a question, but I ask you this. How do you feel about yourself? Oh, I don't mean how do you feel physically. I don't mean are you running a fever? Are you not running a fever? Do you feel awake? No. What I mean is, how do you feel about the country you live in? How do you feel about your neighbors? How do you feel about the city in which you may live in? Can you walk down the street without looking over your shoulder? Can you drive a car and come to a stoplight without wondering, is someone going to accost you in one way or another? How many people feel the way people feel in the city from where I'm broadcasting, right here in Midtown Manhattan, right here in New York City? Allegedly, it is the hometown of many Americans. Allegedly, it is the city in which we look upon as our greatest city. And yet, how many places in this city would you feel comfortable going to? How many places could you say, yeah, I could walk down that street. I'm not worried. And yet, you could travel clear across the world. Maybe you could go to Sydney, Australia. Maybe you could go to even Beijing, China. Or maybe you might want to go to London, England. I mean, there's so many other places you could probably feel and would probably feel safer. Isn't it a shame? Isn't it a shame that so many Americans cannot feel safe in their own city? I mean, that's what the quality of life is. Not the suit you wear, not the car you drive, not the home you live in, but how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your neighbors, how you feel about the town, the city, the country in which you live. Now, we had a great event, in my view it was a great event, to occur on November 8th of 1994, when at long last, 40 years of arrogant Democrat rule was ended in the House of Representatives, and the United States Senate was restored. But that doesn't mean that you can sit back and expect those guys in Washington to do things for you. See, the trouble is, we've lost sight. I don't want to preach, but we've lost sight. You don't want to preach? What are you preaching for? I'll tell you why. Because we have lost sight, if indeed we ever had a glimpse of what this country was supposed to be about. The phrase, a government of, by, and for the people. A government of, by, and for the people. Think about it. Think about it. Not a government of, by, and for the politicians. They're supposed to be where they are to serve you. They like to use the phrase public servant when they talk. Oh, yes, they do. They like to say they are public servants. And then when you remind them that they are your servants, some of them can't take it. We had a very arrogant governor in the state of New York. Extremely arrogant, ridden with hubris, and he forgot, if indeed he ever knew, that he was supposedly a servant of the people. Now, we're not going to solve any problems here, you and me together. We're not going to solve any problems, but maybe we can start galvanizing some kind of action. Maybe we can focus attention where attention must be paid. In the celebrated Arthur Miller play, Death of a Salesman, Mrs. Willie Loman, I think, had the most significant line of dialogue of anybody. She said, attention must be paid. Think about it. Attention must be paid. And ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you that attention must be paid to these problems, to these situations. Attention must be paid to the truth, and we must have the courage to follow through. Now, let me give you a specific when I talk about the need for courage. You need courage to talk about civil rights in the proper way. And what is the proper way? To remind everybody that civil rights is supposed to apply to everybody, not just one group, not just one race, but everybody. And that is why I laud the folks in Los Angeles County in California who are attempting to get on the ballot in the 1996 election. And you know, California, one of the states that has initiative in referendum to get on the ballot, a referendum getting rid of quotas, which they call affirmative action. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to give you the telephone number, 1-800-743-8000, 1-800-743-8000. That's the number to call. Let's be heard. All right, this is Bob Grant here with you. And if you want to make contact, it's 1-800-743-8000, 1-800-743-8000. How do you like that? We even pay for the telephone call. That's outrageous. All right, let's take our first telephone call right now, and we say hello to Phil. Phil, you're calling from, where, New Jersey?
New Jersey. How are you today, Bob?
What's on your mind, Phil?
I wanted those in the national audience, the new national audience, to understand what is Bob Grant's position on the criminalization of drugs.
Oh, cut it out,
in the United
Phil.
States.
Hey, look, Phil, I don't need you to speak for me. If I need you, I'll hire you as
I
a
have a
PR.
question for you.
I'll hire you as a PR guy. You know what I mean, Phil? I'll put you on the pad. I'll put you on the payroll.
I'll tell you what my position is.
I'm not interested in your position because you're
Why do you
obsessed.
invite people to call in on the show and express their ideas and opinions?
Yeah, but you're a klutz. You know why?
As
My
you know,
first
you've never met me
my
before.
first call has to be from you with this You've called me
Because
on.
no one else is
You've
calling
called
from
me
around
on
the country
W.
because-
Wait a minute. You've called me on WABC, the program I do in New York. You've called me, and you have this obsession. Look. You want to fry your brains with drugs? Go ahead and do it, but don't try to convince everybody else they should do
I'm
it too.
talking about our jails being clogged up,
Yeah,
our
the
courts
jails
being
being-
clogged up,
Hey.
people committing crimes on the streets for drugs that
Yeah,
would
it's all
not
for
exist.
drugs. It's all for drugs, right?
No, well,
Yeah,
you
listen,
take a-
go smoke a joint and get off my phone. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might think, gee, I was abrupt. But my gosh, that man was so rude to that guy. Well, this guy, Phil, he's 32 years old. He has an obsession with trying to convince everybody that we should all legalize drugs. And I'm sick and tired of him. What is he, following me around? Yeah, I guess so. All right, let's try, who do we have here? Dave from, you calling from Pennsylvania, Dave?
Yes, I am, Bob.
Okay.
Welcome to Coast Bob Grant country.
I hope the nation is ready.
I hope so, too. I think we are. I wanted to ask you about the situation with Haiti. It's been out of the news pretty much for a while, except for last week or so. There was news about trying to repatriate the refugees that are at Guantanamo, and it seemed like they were having a lot of trouble getting them to go back to Haiti. Why is that, if we've created such a utopia there with the return of Father Aristide?
Well, it proves that those of us who said it isn't that they wanted to flee the horrible regime, that they were escaping tyranny. No, that wasn't it. Not that regime was peachy keen, but the fact of the matter is they just wanted to come to the United States. And anybody who didn't know that is either an absolute fool or a liar. So what this all proves is even with the beloved Saint Aristide, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, back in Port-au-Prince, they still didn't want to go back for one simple reason. They want to be in the United States.
Do you know how much money this has cost our government?
It's cost us hundreds of millions of dollars already. And the price tag of the, I don't know whether to call it an occupation, or the policing, what to call it, will be anywhere from $600 million to $1.25 billion. Just another of the great Slick Willie failures. Thank you very much. Thank
Can
you.
I ask one other quick question?
Yes.
Can you give us any update on the condition of President Reagan?
Yeah, I can only tell you that people are very sad about the fact that the Alzheimer's is, it's a progressive disease, and it's progressing to the point that he's not recognizing people he should recognize. And it's a very sad thing, to say the least. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dave. Let's say hello right here, and don't forget that number, 1-800-473-8000. Let's say hello to Carol. Carol is calling from some town in New Jersey, but what town?
Margate.
Okay.
Bob, I am so happy to speak to you. I've been listening to ABC for years. I listen to you every day. I think your opinions are super. Sometimes you do get a little off the wall, but I just think you're great. And I have to tell you your opening statement this morning about being American. I am so proud to be an American, I can't tell you. My family came to this country years ago. I speak 2 fluent languages other than American, other than English. I will never use those languages when people try to speak to me because I am an American first. My granddad came here in 1912. He never spoke any English, spoke 7 other languages, learned to speak English, died at 94.
Well, that's great. Listen, that is just great, because what that tells us is what the immigrant to this country traditionally has, at least until recent times, has been. Thank you very much. All right, Gary, you're calling from Pennsylvania, huh?
Yes, sir. Milford, Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir.
Of course, I don't want to take your time, and welcome to the national broadcast, They will be heard all around the country. And my point of calling you was, I spoke to you about the same point.
Look, forget about what you spoke to me about before, because people didn't hear that conversation. Okay. What is it you want to say today, Gary?
Okay, I mentioned to you about we are competing with the welfare, and I have a business, and it's very hard. It's difficult for us to get help because we are paying like $6-7 an hour, and the welfare is we are competing with welfare. Means the government is telling the people not to work because they say that guy was only paying $6 an hour, and government is paying Medicare, food stamps, all the extra things.
You're absolutely right, Gary, and this is indeed the dilemma when you're trying to hire somebody to do an honest day's work for an honest, decent day's pay, and they say, "The heck with working, I can get more on welfare." God bless you, Gary. Thank you very much for your call. Let's try Michael back home in Indiana. Are you calling from Indiana? Are you calling? Hello, Michael.
Hello, my name is Michael. I'm from Liberty, Indiana, and I am calling right now from the studios of WHON, where you are being heard for the first time.
Whoa, I like that.
Now, I am the host that will be on before you, and I call myself the most politically incorrect radio talk show host in America, and I see that you're trying to give me a run for my money.
I'm trying to emulate you because somebody snuck some tape recordings of some of your statements. I listened to them during the night. I monitored them, and I tried to remember all of your key phrases.
Well, sir, I am going to welcome you on behalf of WHON, and I think we're going to have a great Saturday morning lineup.
Where is where is Liberty?
Well, Liberty is south of WHON. That's my hometown. And in Richmond, it's south of Richmond. And we're broadcasting, you're broadcasting out of Richmond.
I see. Richmond, Indiana.
Yes, WHON, News Talk 930.
I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Hoosiers, believe me. And I appreciate your call, and good luck to you. You sound like my kind of guy. All right, that was very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bob Grant, and you know how to make contact. We're going to continue after these messages. All right, let's get back to our busy telephones here on the Bob Grant Show. And I want to say hello to Al. Al calling from San Francisco. Hello, Al.
Yeah, first time I ever heard you, and first-time caller to you. One thing is, when a victim is hit, or killed, they say the victim was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yep.
But when a murderer or a child molester or something is ready to, if they assassinate them, you will see these same people there. They will have candlelight vigils. They will be crying tears. Don't assassinate the criminal, execute. Yet they do not for the victim. The reason for this is because they feel a spiritual bond, a kinship to the criminals.
Well, I'm not so...
I mean liberals.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I understand what you're saying. A couple of things, though, Al. I have a hunch that we are in step with each other, but you use the word assassinate. Would you explain the use of that word?
Well,
you mean execute, don't you?
Execute, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, all right, I just wanted to clear that up.
The murderer,
because an assassination is something else. But you're talking about an execution, a legal execution, correct?
Right.
Okay.
They hold their candlelight vigils, they cry, they shed tears. For the criminal, but yet they don't for the victims. The victims, the victim was just in the wrong place. That sounds like a slap in the face.
Well,
to the public.
I think that you have pointed something out that's that's worth thinking about. Why is it that these bleeding heart left-wing liberals, why is it that they show all their compassion, all their emotion, all their empathy, all their sympathy, all their concern for the perpetrators and none for the victims? That is a darn good question. And I don't know if it's that they identify with the criminals, and yet again, one is left to wonder what is the reason for this bizarre reaction. Thank you very much, Al. Al from San Francisco. And let's see, Stan from Seattle, you're on the Bob Grant Show.
Hello, Bob. This is Stan, a Texan calling from Seattle, and I can't believe it. I walked in and heard this familiar voice. I said, this is fantastic. I spent a lot of time in New Jersey out of Philadelphia in 1993 and became addicted to you, and man, this is great. I want to say you're the only talk show host, and it's been rubbed that has never succumbed to the homosexual agenda of calling homosexuals gays. And I want to compliment you for that, because gay is such a beautiful word. I'd like to see it restored to its prominence in the English language. It'd take 100 years to do it. But I compliment you for that. And out here I heard about, I think you did more to elect Christine Todd Whitman and Mayor Giuliani and to defeat Mario Cuomo, and I love listening to it last year. I'm disappointed that Governor Whitman, who I was certainly for and still am, that she had said she wouldn't appear on your show anymore.
Oh, she did appear, though.
Oh, good.
Yeah, on November 17th of 1994, she did appear. We had a great hour together, and I think that she realized two things. I'll tell you what, you've been out there, so you couldn't possibly know, Stan. Two things happened. Mainly, what happened was that she was buried by an avalanche of mail, thousands and thousands. I am not exaggerating. I don't know how many thousands, but by her own statement on the program, a lot of people told her that they would never vote for her again because she had turned her back on me and so forth and so on. And, hey, she is a politician, and she respected all of that response. So she appeared on the program, and I think our relationship is okay now.
Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, that's terrific, because I really liked her. That's about the only thing she did that I didn't like. Hey, in signing, if you would, for the national audience, and gosh, I hope you're down in Houston, but if you're not, we'll try to do something about getting you there.
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen here on this great network. I'll tell you what's going to happen. More and more stations will be carrying the program as word gets out what we're doing, I'm sure. And I do not see Houston on the list, but hopefully it will join the ranks of the successful radio stations, the wise radio stations, who carry the Bob Grant Show.
All right. Hey, but would you, for the national audience you got, I've missed what you used to, for the governor. Mario, would you do one man, I've missed hearing that. What did you call it,
Oh, you mean the message to Mario?
Yes.
I know that the New York audience, of course, grasped its significance, but I don't know how it would play out there. But, hey, you're a Texan, and you're in the city of Seattle, and you want to hear it. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to hear it.
All right, I think for you, I do it. All the rest of you, turn your radios to the off position for the time being. That's it. All right, now that it's just you and me, or is it just you, me, Connie Chung, and Mrs. Gingrich? Anyway, here it is, just you and me. Are you ready?
Ready.
Hey, Mario, haciéndome. Tu se propio no svachim. And he is. All right?
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Bye. Oh, dear. It's amazing the things people remember and the things people want to hear. All right, let's swing over to Yorktown, Pennsylvania. Eddie, you're on the Bob Grant Show.
Hi, Bob. It's Eddie.
Yes, Eddie.
I'd like to address the problem about Social Security. I'm disappointed that none of the politicians are addressing it.
Yes.
The only one that I can think of is Kerry. His panel was loaded with special interest groups. I just can't see that they don't realize that the high taxes are driving industry away. Just a couple of years ago, I understand we had about 18 million in government and 18 million in manufacturing. Today it's changed now. I think we got 19 million in government and just over 16 million in manufacturing. Don't they realize that Social Security tax, which is getting higher and higher, is driving manufacturing away? I can't believe it that they won't.
Well, I think they do. At least the new Congress indicates that it does, and hopefully, they will be able to implement the programs that they have said they wanted to enact when they wrote the contract with America. Thank you very much, Eddie. All right, we're going to continue on the Bob Grant Show. We're talking to you as you call in from San Francisco. Hello.
Hi, Mr. Grant. It was a pleasure to awaken this morning and hear you on KSFO, and we welcome you.
Thank you.
I wanted to mention that we're in a real battle here. You know, you mentioned the California Civil Rights Initiative. After going through Prop 187, where a lot of us grassroots people were working to get that on the ballot and then to not be threatened with our lives and finally pass it with an overwhelming majority, we're actually gearing up now for an even worse battle over the Civil Rights Initiative. And what's interesting is the predictable players are already coming out. We've got Jesse Jackson out here calling us racist. We have, what's interesting this time is we have many black, outspoken black leaders in our area, particularly one, a UC regent, who's come out, is going to help put the initiative on the ballot. And so I think this is going to be the hot, and I mean the hot debate for the next 2 years.
And deservedly so, Alexa, deservedly so. I think it's absolutely crucial. America has got to come to grips with the fact that it is engaged in a policy which is self-destructive, which is hurting everybody in the long run. And the question has to be, why? Why do we continue with this policy? And the answer is we continue with this policy because of the shenanigans, the extortion, the blackmail of people like Jesse Jackson, and the pusillanimous nature of a lot of politicians. True, if you want to go back to the 1950s, yes, the stage was set for a civil rights movement. Jim Crow laws had to go. Desegregation had to go. It's gone. It's gone. They passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and in that Civil Rights Act it says there's not supposed to be any preferential treatment. And lo and behold, what do we have? A contradiction. You know, I read not too long ago, or reread, a speech that Hubert Humphrey made. I was no fan of Hubert Humphrey, but he did make a speech at the time of the vote on the Civil Rights Amendment of 1964, and he said to I'm paraphrasing now, Alexa, he said, "And to my friends on the other side of the aisle who oppose this plan because they fear it would give preferential treatment to certain groups, I tell them this is precisely what it will not do." And yet, lo and behold, we have had this affirmative action program, which in effect says, hey, you can't discriminate against anybody unless it's a white male. Exactly. That's okay. You can discriminate against a white male in particular, and whites in general. Well, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. We don't get rid of one evil to replace it with another, do we?
Not at all. And I want to tell you, I'm only in my early 30s, so all I have known has been this affirmative action system. And I tell you, people in my age group are probably the maddest because they are coming up against not being able to get into fire departments, police departments, because they happen to be white of European extraction, and they seem to be odd men out. And I'm just... I need all of you wonderful talk show hosts out there who agree with us just to keep mentioning it, helping us, and we need moral support because it's going to be ugly.
Oh, it is, but it is a vital battle, without a doubt. I interviewed one of the men who, one of the professors, as a matter of fact, who is a proponent. I've talked to him, and it is an extremely important battle. But look, I'm not looking for any Purple Hearts. I'm not looking for any medals. It is not easy to take this position. It would be much easier to take the other side because the politically correct crowd still has tremendous control. Maybe someday that'll change. Hopefully it will. I have to believe it will. Right. But, Alexa, it's encouraging to know that there are people like you. Oh, let me leave you with this thought.
Yeah.
In debates that I've had on the radio station I've been broadcasting on for the last 10 years, WABC in New York, I say all I'm asking for is to emulate the National Basketball Association or the National Football League. And the guy says, what do you mean? What do you mean? I say, well, take the New York Knicks basketball team. They have 11 players. They're all black. And somebody says, well, gee, how come they're all black? And the coach and the general manager say, well, we just want the best players. We just want to win. And the guy says, yeah, okay, all right. So I say, what's wrong with having the best people in medical schools, in law schools, on police departments, on fire departments? What is wrong with having the best people regardless of the racial composition?
Exactly. Excellent point. Excellent.
Danbury, I believe, Connecticut. Is that right, Mike?
That's correct, Bob. Congratulations on going national. Long overdue.
It feels good. It feels good.
I bet. My question is this, Bob. With the Republican majority and the so-called their new contract with America, I think a big thing they left off it was, how about immigration reform? I was wondering, do you think that'll come up, and will we be able to get it through, and especially if we get a Republican president in 1996?
Well, immigration reform is something that we really have needed. I mean, real immigration reform, not the Simpson-Mazzoli bill, which was passed, I believe, back in 1986, which really didn't do anything, obviously. No, we need real immigration reform. As a matter of fact, we should declare a moratorium on all immigration, and we should redouble our efforts to stop the illegal immigration, which I call an invasion. It's going on at all times. And, the question is asked, doesn't immigration control offend American minorities of ethnic backgrounds similar to the immigrants seeking entry? And I say, if anything, America's minority citizens suffer the lion's share of the effects of uncontrolled immigration, because the fact of the matter is, Mike, the massive numbers of new aliens take jobs, they take social services that low-income minority citizens desperately need to survive. It is a terrible, terrible burden, and we have to be courageous enough and sensible enough to rid ourselves of this burden. So my answer to you is, I do believe that down the road we will see meaningful immigration reform, and if we don't, then we're going to have to lean on our politicians all over again. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you, Bob.
George, this is Bob Grant. Hello to you. You're calling from Westchester.
No, this is George.
Yes, George.
Oh, I thought you said you.
No, I said, George, you are calling from Westchester.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right.
Anyway, I'm glad the whole country is finally getting to see what a genius you are there, Bob.
A genius?
That's right.
Oh.
And I'm a real big fan of yours. I've been a fan of yours for years, and like I said, the country is finally lucking out. And I'd just like to say, on your behalf, all the creepos out there who talk about you being a racist and being a bigot and so forth, they'd probably say the same thing about Richard Nixon, because he said that blacks were tree people and toms, you know?
I don't know if he ever really said that.
Did you read the Haldeman Diaries?
And yes, I did. What I want to say to you is, I would advise you to once again go back to reading Julius Caesar, the William Shakespeare play, because you are obviously interested in playing the role of Mark Antony, who said, I come here to bury Caesar, not to praise him, because you're a fake, phony fraud, a two-bit jerk who's pretending like you're saying one thing and you turn around and say another. Hey, you want to know what I think about you? Get off my phone, you creep, and don't call again. You're barred. There's our first official persona non grata. I didn't expect to have a persona non grata on the very first program. You see, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you a little something about myself. I mean, not that you asked, not that you care, but I think I want to tell you anyway. The thing that riles me the most, and you know what, I shouldn't tell you this, because if you really want to rile me, you'll do it. Now, I must be honest. What bothers me the most are when people do what this guy did. If he were to begin his telephone conversation by castigating me by saying whatever it is he wanted to say in a negative fashion, that's fine. I'm fair game. But to pretend that he was not an enemy, to pretend that he was calling as a normal, decent, sane human being, and then to reveal what he really is, that I despise! And let's be heard, round 2 of our 3-round get-together, ladies and gentlemen. And the telephone number, 1-800-743-8000, 1-800-743-8000. I'll say it one more time, 1-800-743-8000. This is the Bob Grant Show. And guess what? I'm Bob Grant. And I'm going to say hello to Wayne, who is calling from Oceanside, California. And he is on with us right now. You're on the Bob Grant Show. Hello, Wayne.
Hi, Bob. How are you?
Good.
First time I've heard your program out here, and I'm glad to be a part of it here.
Well, good.
2 things I'd like to just share with you, some ideas. First of all, I believe that every citizen has the right to vote, and I do not believe in a vote tax. But I believe that to be a responsible citizen means not only the privilege of voting, but to be a productive component of that society. And I just wonder if the privilege to vote means that you should file an income tax return. Not that you have to make an income, but you have to file an income tax return. Secondly, drug problems are enormous in this country, and it's all based around the big dollar. And I'm just wondering if we had a national credit card that all transactions above $1 have to be done on a credit card. This would get rid of the drugs. There'd be no way for the kingpin of drugs to deal with all the stolen stereos and TVs and everything else collecting in his backyard.
You mean we'd have to get rid of currency then?
That is correct, except for tokens that you could use in vending machines.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I understand why you're saying it. But it'll never happen. No way will it ever happen.
It'll never happen because the people in power, those drugs, rule our government today, I think.
Well, I don't think that's the reason, but we're not going to get rid of currency no matter what you might hear, at least not in our time. As far as the drug problem is concerned, isn't it interesting? We've had drug czars, so-called drug czars. We had Bill Bennett, a man whom I admire. We've had Bob Martinez, another man I considered a good man, former governor of the state of Florida. Now we have a guy, Lee, he's never in town Brown.
Yeah.
Are you aware that Lee Brown is...
Oh, yeah.
What has he done? What has any of them really done? Have we made a dent in it? No, not really. Not really.
No, they go to the bank each 2 weeks and cash their federal paycheck.
Right. Okay, listen, how's that weather out there?
Well, you can see the advancement of the next storm coming in. It's getting kind of cloudy right now. And they're predicting about 1 to 2 inches here in Southern California starting tomorrow.
Is it hitting you folks in the San Diego area?
Not as badly as up north in Orange County and further north. It's really bad up in there.
But North County is being spared.
We've got some problems, but nothing, like...
How close are you to Pendleton?
2 miles.
Okay. Do you think they'll ever sell Camp Pendleton?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Bob. Bye-bye.
All right. That was Wayne checking in from Oceanside, California, listening to us on KOGO, K-O-G-O, in San Diego. This is Bob Grant. You're on the Bob Grant Show. Hello, Chuck.
Hi, Bob. I wanted to first say I've been watching you somewhat on the national media. You've been getting bludgeoned, I think, by some of these liberal talk show hosts. And, I respect you holding your ground. But I wanted to say on the balanced budget amendment, if Ronald Reagan was so evil for deficit spending, which I know for a fact he wasn't really responsible for, it was the liberal Congress, how is it that Bill Clinton isn't more evil because he has the benefit of 20/20 hindsight now, seeing that deficit spending is wrong, and he's not doing anything to get rid of the deficit, and in fact, he's trying to stop the Republicans from balancing the budget.
Well, the claim is, and you have to give the due to the devil. The devil is due. And even though I hope and pray that Slick Willie is a one-term president, I must say the deficit has gone down. Of course it went down. You know why it went down? Because we got a big tax increase. That's why.
Right. But see, they're using the deficit as an excuse to raise taxes, and in fact imposing socialism through that. I think they're using the deficit spending to impose their what their real agenda is socialism on us, saying we need to raise taxes to balance the budget. They don't want a balanced budget. They've never wanted a balanced budget because that's their tool to impose socialism on us.
Well, I'm not so sure I agree with that, but without a doubt, they do want to raise taxes. Without a doubt, they have a socialist agenda.
Well,
now the administration is going to have a tough time trying to further its socialist agenda because there was an event called the election of November 8th.
Right.
And with Newt as a speaker and with Bob Dole as the Senate leader, I don't think that he's going to get what he wants. And Madame Hillary will have to figure out a new way to give us a socialized medicine program.
That's right. I did want to say, though, I think we should, when we eliminate PBS and the NEA, I think we should take a small portion of their budgets and create a liberal memorial, something like the Holocaust Memorial,
well,
so that we'll never forget the evil that liberals have perpetrated on this country for the last 30 years.
Well, you got a great sense of humor, but let me say this. I don't think we're going to get rid of the NEA or PBS, in spite of the fact that that's what most people want, in spite of the fact that the Speaker and the new majority say that that's what they want to do, because of the entrenchment of the bureaucracy, the entrenchment of the elitists. I hope you call me in the not-too-distant future, and you're able to say, Chuck, you're able to say, Bob, you were wrong, I was right, we got rid of PBS and NEA. But I am not going to hold my breath. All right, here's R.C. calling in on the Bob Grant Show, 1-800-743-8000. Yes, R.C.
Yes, how are you doing today? That's the first time I heard your show.
Well,
I guess you just started broadcasting in this area?
Well, I started this program today.
Okay.
But I've been broadcasting for a good many years here in the city of New York.
No, I'm just saying, you just went national, or you just went in this area?
Just today.
Oh,
this is our second hour.
Well, that's fantastic. It sounds like you're on a really good area. Some work that needs to be done because there's a tremendous abuse of civil rights in this country, and it seems to have turned into an industry by government.
Well, we can't be intimidated by the politically correct crowd. We can't be intimidated by these so-called civil rights leaders who call us names. Yeah. We mustn't allow that to happen.
Well, the problem is that they are crushing and abusing a lot of people, and I've had my family destroyed by this because I had the misfortune of having some money, and they came and wiped us all out. I had a divorce that's going into its 7th year, and my children are really suffering from this. I'm just trying to figure out how I get some help or get a civil rights suit going or something. I don't know where to turn.
What town are you in, San Diego?
San Diego. We just got rid of a district attorney that had been in office for 24 years, precisely because of these kind of cases.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and it's really, you could lose heart, but that's the last thing in the world you must do.
Oh, no. They're messing with the wrong guy here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
But I'm just curious if you know of any activity or any groups or anything that's being done about all these children that are being taken out of families just because the government makes money at it.
Offhand, no, I couldn't tell you that, but if I do get that information, I'll be happy to share it with you. Thank you very much, sir. Okay. Here we are on the Bob Grant Show, 1-800-743-8000. Why do we have to say 1-800? Do we have to? Everybody knows that if I say 800, they've got to dial 1 first, don't they? Hey, wait a minute, Grant. People. Yeah, that's true. Tom, you're on the Bob Grant Show. Hello.
Hi, Bob.
Yes, Tom.
Tom Metzger, Fallbrook, California.
Now, hang on. Wait a minute. I'm supposed to take a brief time out here, right? Take a brief time out? All right. I'm going to take a brief time out. And we will continue. We'll talk to Tom and a whole host of people following Tom after these messages. I presume Tom is still there, calling us from Fallbrook, California, which is about 48 miles or so northeast of San Diego. Are you there, Tom?
I'm here. Tom Metzger here.
All right, you're on the Bob Grant Show. Go right ahead, Tom.
I want to say hello to all my friends across the country, and God bless 187. This is going to be, California's going to kick it off, the second American Revolution. California, this border thing's got to stop. This Mexican fiasco has got to cease, and it's going to get hot in California. Not hot right now, but it's warming up. You got to come out here, Bob, and march with me to the border.
Now, you're talking about 187, Tom, but what about that federal judge putting a hold on that? You know what upsets me? I thought that the people voted on it. As a matter of fact, I know they voted on it. And you had the governor behind it. You had a whole host of people behind it. One judge comes along and says, no good. Is that what our democracy is supposed to be?
It happens all the time. The initiative process is a great process where the people could really let their voices be heard. It's one of the most democratic methods. But almost every time, some Mickey Mouse judge will come along and thwart the will of the people. But it isn't going to work this time. We're going to move right on around. We'll get by that judge, and it's going. It's big time out here. And what's this stuff? I'm reading a report here on my desk by the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith. They're really going after you.
No, they haven't. They deny that they were. So I don't know how old that piece of literature you have is, Tom. But no, they haven't. There was a rumor that they were going to, and somebody called them on it, and they said, no, no, we're not after Bob Grant. So,
hey, does your sweet daughter still live in Fallbrook?
Who's that?
Your daughter, remember?
Oh, sure. No, she doesn't. She moved, about 8-10 months ago.
I didn't think anybody ever moved out of Fallbrook. It's a beautiful little town.
Is it still the avocado capital of the world?
Absolutely. Eat avocados, everybody.
Okay. Thank you very much, Tom. Avocado. Yeah, that's right. Fallbrook, the avocado capital of the world. And it isn't that Fallbrook is dull. It's just that it's near exciting Bonsall. And that's why people think Fallbrook is dull, because Bonsall is so exciting. This is the Bob Grant Show. You want to make contact? 1-800-743-8000. 1-800-743-8000. Hello, Ralph. You're on the Bob Grant Show.
Hello.
Yes, Ralph.
Bob.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling about Barry Goldwater.
Yes.
And how this past election in November was an acknowledgement of how right he was 30 years ago, because it happened to have been the 30th anniversary of the election of 1964.
Yep.
And had he been elected president in 1964, we would never have had all the things go on that went on in the past 30 years. Because when he was not elected president in 1964, that was the beginning of the end. And
it was the beginning of the end. It was the beginning of, thanks to the biggest fraud that ever lived in the Oval Office, and that takes in a lot of territory, Lyndon Baines Johnson. We would not have had the debacle in Southeast Asia. We would not have had the debacle of the so-called war on poverty. We would not have had the type of legislation that we've had that has emasculated this country. That is my firm belief, sir.
Absolutely. And I just say that it's a ratification of how right Barry Goldwater was, because in your heart, you know he's right.
Well, that was the campaign slogan.
Exactly.
I remember wearing a button saying, in your heart, you know he's right.
Right.
And those of us who campaigned for Barry, we took a lot of abuse. We were called a lot of names. I know Barry's in his dotage now, and a venerable ancient man of, about 86 years old. But he left a legacy, and I think he was one of the most, in his prime, I think he was one of the most honest politicians, one of the few truly honest politicians I ever knew of.
That's why he lost the election.
That's right.
He spoke the truth at the time. He was speaking the truth.
Well, you know, they passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. There were 7 provisions of that act, and he had serious reservations about 2 of them, and that was why he voted against it. Well, he was called all kinds of names. You would have thought he was Adolf Hitler, the names they called him.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I go to Republican political functions now here in Orange County in New York, and I wear my Barry Goldwater button on my lapel, and I get people come up to me and just praise him to no end.
Well, let me tell you, you make an interesting point there, because if the people who claim they voted for him in 1964 really did vote for him, he would have won the election. Okay, thank you very much, Ralph.
Have a good day.
All right, that phone number, 800-743-8000. And from Brookline, Massachusetts, I'm saying hello to you, Henry, on the Bob Grant Show.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Good.
Before my question for you, can I clear up something one of those other callers said?
Oh, you're the cleanup crew, okay.
The guy who mentioned those Nixon quotes, that's from the Haldeman Diaries.
Yeah, that's right. It is.
Yeah, you read the whole... Nixon said that stuff in the Haldeman Diaries. Anyway, the question I have for you is, you think Gingrich knew about the Jeffries, what Jeffries... you think he knew about it before this went going on?
I think he knew about it, but didn't think anything of it. I think that it really didn't impress him as anything that was serious. Anything that was wrong, and he might... I just don't think he paid enough attention to it.
Yeah, I think the press is really blowing this out of proportion. And I'd just like to say I'm really glad that the whole country now gets to hear what a racist you are.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. Ah, dear me. Yeah, dear. All right. Chuck, you're on the Bob Grant Show.
Yes, it's a pleasure, Mr. Grant. I got to see you on C-SPAN one day. You were really good.
That was back in April.
Yeah. Listen, I'm calling about...
Hey, Brian Lamb, if you're listening, I want to be back on C-SPAN again. It's about time. Okay, go ahead.
What happened down in Texas looks to me like it was absolute intentional murder down in Waco. And I'm wondering, do you think that there is a remote chance at all that we're going to get some answers down there? Because if it was what I think it was, and it happens again, you're looking at a civil war in this country.
No, I don't. I don't think that. I think what it was a botched job. I think Janet Reno had no business being appointed the Attorney General of the United States. I think that it was an outrage that she was not fired or wasn't forced to resign after that. And yet, Time Magazine referred to her as a real heroine. They had no business sending those 4 AFT men to their deaths. They had no business blowing up, burning a building or causing a building to be burned that contained all those little children. And, you know, what? Look, I think David Koresh was a maniac who got what he deserved, and his gunslinging pals also got what they deserved. But when I think of those little children in there, then I think of Janet Reno. There's a lot to be said here. San Diego, and I say hello. You're on the Bob Grant Show.
Yeah, Bob, welcome. This is San Diego. Excuse me. I remember when I lived in New York on WMCA, but now, so welcome. I'm glad to hear you. But now on the Shabazz case, I think it looks very weak because of this guy Fitzpatrick. Now, it goes back to this.
Now, he's talking about, excuse me, just a moment. What Sam from San Diego is talking about, of course, is the plot to kill Louis Farrakhan that was allegedly hatched by the daughter of the late Malcolm X. That's what he's talking about. Now, you say the case is weak because of this guy Fitzpatrick.
But now, here's what I'm going to try to get at. On Metzger, they were able to indict him on the killing of that black Ethiopian immigrant.
Up in Washington, up in the state of Washington, yeah.
They got him because even though he had nothing to do with the murder, they were able to establish that he incited. Now, Farrakhan, with his own admission, said he helped create the climate that killed Malcolm X.
Yeah.
Now, how come he was never indicted for more or less inciting this kind of atmosphere which led to his death?
You want an honest answer, or do you want a phony answer?
Well, what would, if they could get one on...
No, the honest answer is this. They probably fear the repercussions if they were to do what you suggest. This man has a powerful, immediate group and a lot of sympathizers. I'm talking about Farrakhan. Tom, on the other hand, and I don't agree with everything certainly I don't agree with a lot that Tom said and did. Nevertheless, Tom didn't have the following that Louis Farrakhan has. And therein, I think, is the answer to your question.
Yeah.
What you perceive as inconsistency is inconsistent, but inconsistent for a reason. And I'm not justifying the reason, but you asked a question, and I'm surmising that is what the answer is.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think...
Now, why do you say the case is weak because of Fitzpatrick?
They'll be able to bring up that he's been spread around indicting this particular group and another case. In other words, they have been using him for just this kind of entrapment.
Yeah,
and a good lawyer would be able to say, hey, she's just a babe in the woods. And even though our hatred was so intense against Farrakhan that they could induce her to do what she did, I think they would bring up this guy's going around all over the place, just getting people entrapped.
Well, you're making a good point, but they do have tapes, and if the tapes don't lie, what are they supposed to do? I do agree, however, the case would, in the final analysis, be weak, probably because of what you suggest. But what do you make of the tapes?
Oh, well, like I said, her hate for this man is so intense.
And understandable. After all, this man was responsible for killing her father.
Right. And by just inciting, well, let's do something about it, he's entrapping her, but the tapes would show... I want him still dead because of what he did to my father.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that, Sam. And right now, I say hello to Bob. Bob, you're on the Bob Grant Show.
Hi, Bob.
Yes, sir.
It sure is good to have a national outlet for some of the frustration.
Well, that serves a purpose, I suppose. I hope it goes beyond that, but anyway, yeah.
I wanted to comment on an article that was in the San Diego Union Tribune about the Weaver incident, wherein...
You mean Randy Weaver?
Randy Weaver.
Yeah.
In this article, they mentioned the fact that Weaver's wife's death was a tragic accident. And it's my understanding she was shot between the eyes.
She was shot between the eyes, which is, maybe that's the accident. Maybe the guy felt he was such a bad shot that he was aiming at a tree and got her between the eyes. I mean, that's a lot of... that's a lot of malarkey, that it was an accident.
Well, and then the thing that really upset me was the fact that they're discussing recommending this guy, Larry Potts, who headed up that action, for the number 2 spot at the FBI. They're going to promote the guy. And it says he was censored, but they still want to promote him. And he'll go before Congress for an approval. And I think that would be a crime in itself.
Ever hear Jerry Spence, the attorney?
Yes.
I think he's a Wyoming native. Jerry defended Randy Weaver, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Jerry's an incredible lawyer, fantastic lawyer, and he made he couldn't have gotten Randy Weaver acquitted if the jury believed for 1 minute that the FBI was telling the truth.
Well, I read the book that Jerry Spence wrote after that trial, and Jerry Spence, mentioned in the book that even though Randy Weaver was a white separatist, that and he didn't agree with his philosophies, he was entitled to them. And, the thing that you have to ask yourself is why would the FBI go up into the middle of nowhere in Idaho, infiltrate a church, hang out in that church for a year to get a guy to saw off one little shotgun, and then surround this place with FBI and ATF agents, and then shoot up his family? Kill his 13-year-old kid and his wife. And the one thing that I wanted to say, since you got a national audience here, is that everybody across this country needs to approach the county sheriff in their area and make that county sheriff hold all federal agencies that come into their area accountable for their actions and make sure that they work within the cooperation of the sheriff, because the sheriff is the ultimate authority, not the FBI.
Well, I really don't expect people to go contacting their county sheriffs and say, listen, anytime any federal agents come in here, I want you to make it clear to them that you're the ultimate authority. I really don't expect the average American to be confronting his or her sheriff in that manner. I understand what you're driving at, but I really don't expect people to take you seriously on that. Thank you very much.
Hello, Bob. Top of the afternoon to you. How you doing?
What's on your mind, Nigel?
By the way, am I allowed to declare my hometown in England Bob Grant country?
No, sir. It has never been. It's never been proclaimed Bob Grant.
We went for Thatcher every time.
I beg your pardon?
We went for Margaret Thatcher every time.
Well, that would qualify, but it was never proclaimed by anybody on a street corner.
No, I'm saying, could I declare it today?
Could you declare it? Yes, you could.
Twickenham. Have you ever heard of it?
Did I ever hear of whom?
Twickenham. That's my hometown in England.
No, I never heard of your hometown.
Yes. Well, I'd like to declare it Bob Grant country if I could.
You have just done so, sir.
That's terrific. Yes, I'd like to. First, I hope Jay Diamond gets a chance to do a national show too. He's wonderful.
Did he ask you to say that?
No, he didn't.
I see. All right. Thank you for calling in. Until next time, your influence counts.